Kratos, son of Zeus, was once a fierce Spartan warrior until he was brutally betrayed by his hidden rival, the god of war, Ares, and forced to kill his entire family. The betrayal sparked a quest for revenge that destroyed an entire myth. In desperation, he sold his soul to Ares to achieve victory, taking the blades of chaos, which were burned into his flesh as a permanent mark, a reminder of his pledge to sacrifice. He became the embodiment of destruction, slaughtering thousands in the name of the god of war, obliterating the temple and destroying all within. The fiery glow of the setting sun fell on the shattered remains of the temple, blood stained the cold stone steps. Silently, his hands were soaked with the blood of his wife and children. Oraculo cursed him, giving his pale flesh a grayish hue as a mark of death, turning him into the ghost of Sparta. From then on, Kratos was no longer a hired assassin for the god of war, but a hunter of the gods, determined to claim the life of the god who had persecuted him. Kratos knew clearly that only an unprecedented power could kill a god, and that was the power of Pandora's box. But Ares discovered his plan. He summoned a giant pillar from all over Greece, sealed the ghost of Sparta, and pushed him into the abyss of Hades. Yet death and darkness could not conquer him. In the darkness of hell, through terrifying twists and turns, he fought his way free, his eyes shining with a single determination: he would not die until Ares was defeated. Breaking through the grim dungeon, Kratos opened Pandora's box, absorbing the power of the gods. The greatest battle in history broke out: mortal warriors versus gods, mortals versus gods. In the fierce battle, he did the unthinkable, something even the gods did not expect. Kratos became the first mortal to kill a god when he defeated Ares. The god of war fell. He became the new god of war. But the cycle of betrayal continued. Zeus, his father, turned around and betrayed him, casting him into Hades. Yet Kratos never gave up. Despair could not kill his will to fight, that he would stop at nothing for any god. His power was beyond all limits. He burned the son of a primordial god, born before the beginning of the universe. He defeated Kronos, the creator of time and all eternity and father of Zeus. He defeated Poseidon, the keeper of the seas, and caused the Yellow River to flood the world. He then conquered the ruined world, defeated the inner goddesses, and gained the ability to travel through time. Returning to the past, he attacked Zeus, confronted Hades, retained his soul and weapon, and collected the souls of his enemies, fought Hercules, renowned for his extraordinary strength, and even tore off the head of Helios, the sun god, and turned it into a weapon. Armed with the twin blades of chaos, a weapon that could burn the entire space without fire, Kratos destroyed the primordial death, a being of war that existed before time. He received the power of rage from Prometheus, where his anger against the gods was amplified to the maximum, causing the Spartan rage to shake the universe. He did not spare Hermes, stealing the messenger god's swift wings, because even the fastest cannot escape his fate. He confronts Zeus once more, killing both Zeus and Gaia with a stab through the heart. In a last-ditch effort, Zeus unleashes a vision of his past, hoping to break Kratos' psyche through visions of his family. But after years of suffering, he finally defeats himself and forces Zeus' spirit back into his body to crush them. Athena appears in supernatural form, explaining that when Kratos first opened Pandora, he unleashed all the evil and fear of the Olympians, but surprisingly, he also unleashed hope. Hope was transformed into the power that allowed him to take revenge, and now he stands alone as the sole god of war, with no one left to kill. In his moment of ultimate glory, he stabbed himself with the Olympus sword and fell off a cliff. But death could not finish him off. Many years later, Kratos was reborn in a completely new Norse mythology. As if by fate, Zeus was somewhat quiet, seeking peace, but his power still increased with the years, as it is with all gods. His fame continued to grow as new enemies appeared. He felled the god of light with a mighty rock. He defeated Jormungandr, the world serpent, the giant snake that wrapped around the entire earth, with just 3 blows, causing the sound to shake all 9 realms. The duel with the thunder god Thor was extremely brutal, shaking the world tree. Thor possessed the hammer Mjolnir, but was no match for Kratos' chaos blades. A fierce lightning strike from the sky turned him into stone in midair. Then, Kratos killed Odin, the supreme leader of the Norse gods, despite trying to restrain himself, because he did not want to kill any more gods. This proved that no matter which mythology he entered, he still surpassed the peak. He evolved to the 5th level, reaching an immeasurable speed. A mortal who had fallen to the gods, had wiped out Greece, the primeval era, broken the 9 realms, and destroyed the supreme authority in the 2 divine systems. Kratos, the ghost of Sparta, the god of war, became the definition of destruction. He killed many creatures that deserved to die and those that did not deserve to be a mortal warrior who surpassed the limits of the gods, the embodiment of ultimate destruction. Since he first held the sword, blood had been tied to his soul. Each strike was more than an act, it was a chapter in the history of war, resistance, and power. When the weapon touched his body, the clanging of metal echoed like a response from the buried soul. The crushing cry in the soul, cutting into the burning memories of the damned, made the flames of hatred burn brighter, more fierce. During his time fighting in hell, the darkness was more than just darkness. It was hundreds of souls drowning in despair, the wailing echoing through the burning corridors. He walked through them with his body like a blade, not saying a word, leaving only the scent of ash in his breath. Each battle against the gods is a meticulous campaign of intelligence and violence. The encounter with Ares is the first turning point. Pandora is not just a container of power but also a symbol of absolute danger. When Pandora bursts open, building a lonely monument in the ruins, he stands in the middle of the devastation, full of selfishness and hope. The wind swirls, as if trying to hold on to the soul of the world that Pandora had liberated. The victory over Ares opens a new door for the god of war to become the embodiment of stellar power. However, the great test is Zeus' betrayal. His identity as the son of the ambitious god is obscured by the spirit of a warrior. He is defeated but not defeated. When he is pushed down to hell, he seizes his destiny, turning grief into a weapon, resentment into rage. The stab through Zeus' heart is a moment that defines the entire myth. The sword pierced the skin, touched the heart, blood gushed out like a red stream, dyed the sky. The whole atmosphere was strangely silent, as if the universe wanted to listen to the sound of falling blood. Reincarnated in Norse mythology, he was a silent figure in the snow and mist. The thorny trees and the icy peaks became the backdrop for his new journey. But when he faced the Lord of Light, he used a large stone to split the weak spot in his heart. Jormungandr bowed his head, the world shook with each step of the ghost on the white snow. When Thor struck his hammer, the world tree trembled. The sky collapsed into a stormy chaos, a bolt of lightning ravaged the night sky. He took it, petrified like a god molded by violence. At times he paused, looking out over the 9 empty realms, listening only to the sound of the wind in the branches of Yggdrasil. The final decision was whether he was a heartless destroyer or a beacon of hope. But the decision was made and he walked on, following the cold light of a snowy mountain, facing the next battle. Every god, every myth, every supernatural being before him. He will take them all down. The land of northern Europe, though covered in white snow, was not cold enough to extinguish the fire of war that slept deep within him. He was no longer the Kratos of the past who howled in pain, but the embodiment of the condensed power of all legends. Each step on the ice, echoing between the roaring cliffs, was the silent beat of war sleeping in his chest. The scars on his body were not only proof of bloody battles, but also living memories, always whispering of what was lost and what lay ahead. Each god he encountered was now no longer simply an arrogant immortal being, but a fragile pillar hiding fear. Odin, the almighty king of the Norse gods, despite possessing the power to manipulate reality, the ability to cross all dimensions and limitless knowledge, was still defeated. The scene happened not in a glorious glow, but in the darkness of death where the light from the god's eyes shattered like glass, absorbed by Kratos' blade. There was no one left standing above him, no one left to look down on him. Beside him was his son, a half-god, half-human being with 2 opposing bloodlines. The child's eyes held a glimmer of kindness, but also reflected the cruel fire he had seen in his father's. Kratos, despite his restraint, was always troubled by the legacy he left behind. Was it a blessing or a curse? As his son embarked on the path of myth, Kratos knew that a new era was beginning, not with an oath of honor, but with blood and choice. Atreus, the child's name, had the ability to converse with ancient beings, understanding deep roots that even the gods feared. Kratos watched his son with a gaze that was a mixture of expectation and caution. At some point, he knew that the day would come when he would have to face the ultimate choice: protect his son from what he once was, or be replaced by his son to complete the endless cycle of revenge. Amidst the snowy forest, where trees snapped beneath his feet, Kratos heard the sound of the future screaming in the wind. What makes him different is not his sheer power, but that he is the only being who has ever looked the gods in the eye and rejected them. For Kratos, the gods are no longer sacred, they are corrupted beings, filled with lust and lies. As he kills each god, he does not simply take a life, but destroys the symbol of power. The statues that crumble, the temples that burn, the giant arms of the gods that fall and fall silent are all declarations of a new world. An era without rulers. Yet there is a paradox within himself. Kratos, despite his hatred of the gods, is the most feared god. His presence brings both salvation and destruction. When he enters a new land, the local gods sense an imbalance, ancient spirits shudder in the darkness, the doors between dimensions begin to shake, time itself stands still as if preparing to witness an irreversible catastrophe. He is no longer bound by space or time. With the power to cut through the layers of reality, to break the boundaries between life and death, between fate and freedom, Kratos is no longer an individual. He becomes a phenomenon, a living principle, the ultimate rebellion of freedom against power. When his footsteps pass through the ruins of temples, the sky changes color, the stars change hue, and the earth shakes as if everything is bowing. It is said that there were gods who tried to unite to destroy him, but all of them disappeared like mist under the sun. Even when he is still, his mere existence causes the universe to fall into a state of instability. The elder gods from distant dimensions look upon him as if looking into the abyss of the end. And he does not retreat. Kratos stood on the mountaintop, below him a thick mist shrouded the untouched lands. The wind blew past his body, carrying vague calls from the unknown. The Chaos Blade still hung at his waist, no longer dripping with blood, but still radiating a stifling heat as if waiting to be reborn. His eyes looked far away, no longer filled with anger, but with the silence of a warrior who knew that, despite having slain hundreds of gods, peace was never eternal. A voice echoed from afar, as if from the future, as if from his own heart. Was there no end to the road? Or had the entity truly reached the ultimate pinnacle beyond the concept of the divine, beyond myth, to become legend?